Welcome to Sports Extra, your premium online sports show. I'm your host, Ruimbo Chakoreka, and boy, oh boy, do we have a fantastic show for you today. Well, I do have my resident analyst. He's back, and I'll be introducing you to him in the next segment. He was taking a little bit of a breather after having lost Sadio Mane at Liverpool and things like that. I know you Scousers are still crying over that. But in any case, we're going to be dealing with quite a number of things. The Zimbabwe Rugby World Cup dream went up in smoke over this last week. So what did we get wrong? What did we do right? Where do we go from here? All that and more, we'll be discussing that. And then, of course, the ICC T20 World Cup Global Qualifier Tournament B is taking place in Bulawayo. Zimbabwe is taking on Singapore right now as we speak. We'll give you the latest on that one. Of course, the results you can always check on the internet as you are going to be watching this show most likely after the match is done. And then, of course, we're going to be looking at Dimbare. Things not looking too good. 8 points behind FC Platinum now. Is there something wrong in the camp? Well, there always seems to be something wrong in the Dimbare camp, and we're going to be analyzing a little bit of that. We have also got issues around Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic, 21 Grand Slam titles now, and so much more. You don't want to miss this episode. Stay locked on. All right, so let's get straight into it. Welcome to my resident analyst, Brian Matamba. Yesterday we slept in the blankets with our shoes after Zimbabwe lost to Algeria to end up fourth in the Rugby Africa Cup. But the World Cup dream actually went up in smoke against Namibia.
Yeah, it did went. It went up in smoke last week, Wednesday, when we lost to Namibia. But the reason why the World Cup dream went up in smoke, if you look at the preparation, we complained a lot during the Currie Cup when we were losing a lot of games. But there was no consistent in selection. If you look at how Dawson set up his team, he experimented a lot in Currie Cup. In come World Cup qualifiers, we didn't have a set 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I agree about the set 10, and we complained about that even last week when we said, look, you left Keith Chiwara down in South Africa. He was the backline player that rocks. He was the overall player that rocks in the FNB Varsity Cup. He was the 10 that was available to us at that particular time. And also, discussions and rumors are coming out that the likes of Brendan Mandivenga had been past fit prior to us starting the Rugby Africa Cup in France. And we actually saw him in the stands. So that shows he was available to actually come through. So why would we decide not to go with the 10? Another fact that we have to also put on the table, which is what I would expect the Zimbabwe Rugby Union Technical Committee to be asking Brendan Dawson when he sits in front of them when it comes to the failed World Cup campaign, is to ask why there was so much experimentation to the point whereby we didn't have a set team by the time that we left the Currie Cup. These were 10 matches. I can accept experimentation for the first 4, but then all the way up until the 10.
It's quite shocking that they experimented right until the end. Even to the game against Netherlands was still experimented. Well, Marcus now is not a 10, he's a center. Hence why every time when he had the ball, he wanted to crash. He's used to crashing, he's a center. He's not a flyer, hence why we even struggled. He couldn't control the game. Whenever he had the ball, the whole line would shut down because he didn't know what to do with the ball.
Oh yes, more importantly as well, if we are to proceed ahead, I mean, yes, we may look at some of the negatives that may have come out of the campaign. But what are maybe some of the positives that you would look at, Brian?
The positive, you've found your Gwinji. They've been the found of the season. We now got a bit of depth in the forwards. So that's the positive we can take out of this. But there are a lot of negatives rather than positives which came out of this Currie Cup because of the too much experience. We even had Songi playing at wing in the Currie Cup, yet he's a scrum half. So it's those things that really made this dream not to become a reality. That's what made us fail to qualify because we didn't have the right personnel at the right time.
All right. Also, other key issues that we want to look at when it comes to this is the fact that the approach against Namibia, in my view, I felt was all wrong. In the sense that you've got a Namibian side that is very physical, that has got big boys on the park. You would have expected them to have quick ball, but we tried to slow down the game from the very start. And within the space of 3 minutes already, Namibia had scored the try. In comparison to when Namibia played Kenya, they only scored their first points after around about 10 to 12 minutes. And that was as a result of Kenya now making mistake upon mistake. But if they had maintained their play, which they had within the first 10 minutes, I'm sure Namibia would have struggled even more to have then put the points on the board.
Yeah, I would agree with you that we went about the game in a wrong way. We wanted to play a kicking game, we wanted to slow down the game. Yet those are the strengths. We're playing to Namibia's strength rather than to our strengths. Our strength is running rugby, but we didn't play running rugby because we didn't have a functional 10 and we struggled. That's the problem why we lost that match against Namibia. We managed to match Namibia in scrum time. It's one thing on which I was quite impressed that our scrums were steady. But when it came to like spreading the ball wide, we failed to spread the ball wide. Yet that's the only way we could have hurt Namibia.
All right. Well, anyway, the Namibia one is done. That one was done. The next thing that we needed to do was to salvage some pride. And we couldn't do that against Algeria. But let's just talk a little bit about Algeria here. Algeria ranked number 90 coming into this Rugby Africa Cup. I think clearly now we can all agree those rankings mean nothing because Algeria played some scintillating stuff.
Yes, they're a well-drilled side. If you look at how they played, they had so much structure and they're very composed. And they played some fantastic rugby. I don't want to lie to you, they were a joy to watch. Especially the way they would recycle the ball and also set pieces, the rolling balls. They were really an exciting squad.
All right, so anyway, that's done and dusted. We lost against Algeria 20 points to 12. The game wasn't like streamed in the way that we would have loved to. But now let's look to the future. What are the things that we need to do now, Brian?
Looking at the future, I'm not sure. I know a lot of quotas don't want to talk about the story, but maybe it might be time for Brendan Dawson to go out humbly because he has had, this is his third attempt as a coach trying to qualify. And I don't see it fit that if he hangs on and try and qualify for another World Cup, I don't think he will make it again because he has already failed 3 times. So it's time we get a new broom. Maybe we can have the likes of Sean D'Souza, have a squad made up of under 25s and build for the future. Know that the first 2 years of the rugby cycle will be rebuilding. Then aim at qualifying 2027 World Cup. Because by the looks of things right now, I think we need a new broom.
All right. Whilst also talking about that, I think I concur and I appreciate it will never ever take away from Brendan Dawson his legendary status. I mean, he played 2 Rugby World Cups for us, 87 and 91. I believe he was in the 87 squad, or he came in the 91.
91.
Yeah, 91 squad. So in any case, Brendan Dawson has represented Zimbabwe well. He's gone to a World Cup, he's coached the side, they won the Victoria Cup and things like that. Surely at this point, we now need to look in a different direction. My challenge to the Zimbabwe Rugby Union Technical Committee is to try and find a technical team, that will be able to deal with the matters at hand. I will be honest with you. A level 3 coach is what we need at the bare minimum.
Yes.
And of course, we've got the likes of Sean D'Souza. We've got the technical director himself, Godwin Jose Murambiwa. We've got Bright Chivandire. We've got Cyprian Mandenge. Liam Middleton, who's actually level 4 because he can actually train, even level 3 coaches. So these are some of the people that we're throwing in the hat, and ultimately that should then be part of the plan for Zimbabwe Rugby Union. I concur with you. Maybe working with the under-20 squad and even the under-18s, because the under-18s beat Namibia down in South Africa. The under-20s beat Namibia in the Bartes Trophy. And then, of course, you've got other players that are within the mix right now of Sables that can be available still, if they're still playing at the highest level, of course, for the 2027 Rugby World Cup campaign. But in essence, we would love to hear your thoughts and your comments around that one. What do you think should happen? Should Brendan Dawson be replaced? Should the technical team be more substantiated? Because we didn't have a set technical team. We initially had the announcement of the likes of the Daniel Wondos, Liam Middletons, Graham Noops being in there. But by the time we then got to the World Cup, we then started having other people.
We started seeing new faces. That's
Yeah.
quite shocking.
Yeah, we started seeing some new faces. So we would love to hear your thoughts and comments. Who do you think should be in the technical team, or who do you think should be the head coach for the Sables moving forward? Well, we'll be coming through in the next segment, this time around talking about cricket and, of course, football. Okay, so it is the ICC T20 World Cup Global Qualifier Tournament. Never ever thought that this would be the case in our history as Zimbabwe. Now we're struggling, trying to qualify amongst winners.
Playing against associates.
But in any case, it is what it is. And so Zimbabwe is playing Singapore at the time of this recording. And we had actually done ourselves a favor, but just before we went on air, we were 213 for the loss of 4 wickets. That was after about 18 overs. Sikandar Raza had scored a 50. In actual fact, he was on 87, but I don't think he will make it to the 100 because now the bowling was getting a bit tighter and so on and so forth. But you can catch up with all of the action at the Global Qualifier Tournament on icc.tv, and you'll be able to watch all of those matches. But anyway, let's look at how important it is, Brian, that we go to the World Cup.
This World Cup is it's a make or break for Zim cricket because we missed going to the last World Cup and it has really taken the game backwards. But now this one, we really need to make it, because if you look at the teams, even just agreeing what David Holton said, that as much as we respect these teams, we should not underestimate them, but Zimbabwe should make it to the World Cup easily, just judging on paper, because we are a permanent member. We've been playing cricket for ages than most of these teams, and we should make it to the World Cup, because going to the World Cup, it will breed more excitement and it will make more people want to take up the game, and also it will make it will unlock a lot of things by going to the World Cup.
Oh yes, one of those things being money. Oh yes, and Zimbabwe cricket does need the money if they are going to develop the local game further. I mean, just looking at the side was obviously announced just prior to the tournament. What are your general thoughts? Do you think that we have got enough depth, both in batting and bowling, that will be able to take us over the line?
I think we should be able to get over the line. But given the time that David Horton, he couldn't really make dramatic or rather rustic changes. He couldn't make those changes like immediately because he had a short period to work with the players. So he had to just pick the players who were either in form or who have played recently for the Chevrons. So those were the players he went for. But maybe in future, that's when he will really make the huge changes.
Yeah, one of the things as well that is a bit encouraging was the inclusion of Richard Ngarava, who seems to be working out a good bowling partnership with Blessing Mzarabani. We missed him in particular in the Afghanistan series where we just couldn't get going. After Blessing Mzarabani would change over with Tanaka Chivanga or Donald Tiripano or whatever, then the runs would begin to leak and we just couldn't contain Afghanistan. So hopefully this time round, with the left arm seamer offering that level of variation, we can maybe do better. My challenge, however, is I think in the spin department where we are lacking a depth, in particular in the leg spinning department, where Graham Creamer was really important for us. We know Ryan Burl is doing part-time leg spinning, but at the end of the day, do you think that might or might not affect us, particularly when games get tougher after the group stage?
It might affect us, given that the World Cup qualifiers in Bulawayo. Bulawayo, usually the weekend is slow, so it's very friendly to spin. So given that we don't have a lot of frontline spinners, especially you said leg spins. It means that we might find it hard when it's crunch time.
Oh yeah, well, we do hope that they won't find it hard with a solid start against Singapore. We do hope that we can notch up these 180 plus scores or get into the 200s more often, because consistency in batting will be key. But in any case, we wish the Chevrons the very best. Good luck, gentlemen. We know you're going to make the World Cup. Surely you should make the World Cup. And that will, of course, add to some of the excitement for us as cricket lovers. Now let's move from cricket and let's go to the world's most beautiful game. But not so beautiful on the local scene right now in the Castle Premier Soccer League. Dynamos, from having gone to the top of the log, at least looking like as if they were going to be competing for the title, to now 8 points behind FC Platinum, who are now seemingly turning the Castle Premier Soccer League into a farmers league.
Yeah, it's slowly turned into a farmers league because Platinum has dominated the league over for the last 5 years. We could say they've been the dominant team. So them now leading by 8 points early in the season. It means that the league is not that competitive, and it also then puts a dent that we're thinking that the glamour days are back at the glamour boys, but it seems like they are not. It was a false dawn.
Oh yes, a false dawn. What do you think is the major problem now, Brian?
When you look at Dynamo, of lately they're lacking goals up front, so that's a major problem. But given with Dynamo always has problems in camp. So the problems are more deep-rooted. They're not only more of just lacking goals, but it's more of as a team. It seems like there's trouble in paradise in the camp.
Oh yeah, and when we talk about it, ownership, wrangles to dressing room issues. Weton Raya was suspended for a bit, then brought back again, and then you are expecting some level of momentum. Surely that can just never happen.
It then kills the momentum because now you have a divided change room or some disgruntled players or people who are not really motivated. Hence why they've fallen away from the title race.
Oh yeah, and now with the likes of Chicken Inn as well stuttering, Gezi Platinum Stars stuttering as well, they also lost quite heavily against the Rentals, losing by 3-0. Benjani Mwarwaru might be under the pump very soon.
He's really under the pump because he hasn't yet delivered. He came with a huge profile and right now he's not really delivered.
Yeah, well, let's just see whether his star status as a former Warriors player, having played Portsmouth, Blackburn, having done coaching badges in the UEFA A license. Well, it's a UEFA B license, I believe, that he has. But we do hope that somehow, some way, the other teams can wake up out of their slumber and turn this around. Because if FC Platinum picks up the 4th title in a row, then amadzangu apana zvatiri. Anyway, we're going to be taking a short break. When we do come back, we're going to have a lot more to talk about. This time round, it's Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic. Yes, all you Djokovic haters, guess what? He's now got 21 Grand Slam titles. And we talk about that and more. All right, so when you come onto the grass court, it's the place where people wear suits and these lovely blue blazers with gold buttons, and we're all acting very charming and very nice and casual.
Well, eating berries, the famous berries from Wimbledon.
Oh yes, of course. Oh yes, and the ice cream and everything that comes with it, with famous faces sitting in the stands. But guess what? On the court, it was a little bit different. It was not an irregular face, it was a regular face who did the business. And that was Novak Djokovic picking up his 21st Grand Slam title. Now just only one behind Rafael Nadal. But not only one behind Rafael Nadal, it's also a one over Nick Kyrgios, a man he has actually surprisingly struggled against. But what a tennis match that was, Brian.
Yeah, well, it was a fantastic tennis match, but I'm quite disappointed by Kyrgios choking there. I thought he would get the Grand Slam, but hey, Djokovic was just too good for him.
Yeah, look, he's imperious when we talk about it. But why does the media not like Djokovic? Why?
It just happens. Sometimes you're not a media darling, and Djokovic, given by his track record, he's just not a likable character by the media. But yet he's one of the most successful tennis players of all time. No, not even of our generation, but of all time, because he has won Grand Slams across all forms of courts, whether clay, whether hard surface, whether grass. So I don't know where the hate comes from for Djokovic.
Oh yeah, but talking about it, Nick Kyrgios only made it because Rafael Nadal was not able to continue. Of course, suffering a stomach injury, he just couldn't continue. But how phenomenal would that have been if Rafael Nadal had also been able to pick up the Wimbledon, because he was looking to go for the Grand Slam, which is to pick up all the Grand Slams.
Yeah, it was going to be interesting because he's already got 2 in the bag this year, Nadal. This would have been the 3rd, but unfortunately, usually Nadal is prone to injuries. So unfortunately, the stomach injury really hurt him here. He could have gone for all 4, but now he can still go finish the year on a high and win the US Open.
Well, if Djokovic allows him to, which will be interesting. So anyway, let's now look at the 3 GOATs, as they would say. Roger Federer is quickly slipping down the table because now he's in 3rd with his 20 Grand Slam titles, Nadal with 22, Djokovic with 21. But Djokovic has got more years in him when it comes to tennis. I believe Djokovic is around about 34 or so years of age. Nadal is around about 37, 38. And you've got a Roger Federer who's about 39 years of age. So you kind of feel that Djokovic surely has got enough years in the tank in order to surpass them all comfortably and become the greatest tennis player of all time.
Yeah, Djokovic, actually, it's in his hands. The destiny is in his hands. He can actually achieve that, given that he's got, I think, 3 or 4 more years at the top.
3 or 4 more years. Will the likes of Alexander Zverev, Stefanos Tsitsipas, the youngsters that are coming up, Carlos Alcaraz, do you think that they might just put a dent in that potential?
They've got the capability, given that they're at the other side of the 20s, and they're still young, they're still energetic, so they've got a chance to put a dent. But by the look of things, it looks like Djokovic might just dominate 3 more years. I think he's got 3 more years at the top.
3 more years in the bag. Well, let's just see whether he'll be able to do the business in that regard. Well, we shift away from that and we look at Formula One action. Ferrari, Forza Scuderia, they did the business in the Austrian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc winning that one, actually overtaking Red Bull 3 times in that race. Could we say Formula One are back in the thick of things and might just snatch this title race away from Red Bull?
I don't think Ferrari will snatch away because we're almost halfway through and they're still 38 points off the pace. So I think Red Bull will still win this championship, but it will just make it an interesting finish.
Oh yeah, an interesting finish. How interesting was it, considering that Carlos Sainz won last week's race and then Leclerc wins this one? Do you feel that it might be just the momentum of Ferrari now beginning to pick up, and maybe even going into the next season, they will still be right up there?
Yeah, maybe it could be the return of the Ferrari because they've been in the doldrums, so maybe they're finally coming back.
Well, talking about doldrums, Mercedes. Look, I love Lewis Hamilton, I love Mercedes, but right now it's just not working.
Yeah, for Mercedes right now, it's not been the best of seasons and it keeps getting worse. But the only fortunate thing is they managed to get someone to finish on the podium. But still, it's dark days for Mercedes.
Yeah, dark days for Mercedes. Well, let's see how that will all come out to be. Well, we take a short break. When we do come back, we're going to be talking Transfer Zone news. So Chelsea have agreed a deal to sign Raheem Sterling. What for? What would you need Raheem Sterling for? He's a winger. He's not a striker. What you're struggling with right now is not your play, it's your goals. So you need a man that can bang the goals. Isn't that right, Brian?
I think this is a wrong buy by Chelsea here. Raheem Sterling, I think they're hoarding players. It seems like Chelsea are back to that hoarding system where they just buy players where they don't know where to fit them, because already they've got enough the wings, the wingers in their team. They've got Ziyech, they've got Odoi. Odoi is a winger, and I don't know why they want Sterling. I don't know where Sterling will fit in this puzzle. What they needed was an outright striker.
Yeah, an outright striker. But maybe the debate continues that the last outright striker that Chelsea actually had and who was successful was Didier Drogba. Everybody who's come before and after Drogba won the number 9 shirt in particular has just not been successful.
Yeah, they've not been successful. Even Lukaku's second coming, it turned out being a horror show.
There was no resurrection there.
So I don't know Chelsea's transfer policy. And also they're also linked with Rafinha. Rafinha also plays almost like Kai Havertz or Ziyech. So I don't know where they'll fit Rafinha again. So Chelsea right now, I don't know if they're buying the right players at the right time.
Well, yeah, but whilst talking about buying right players, Tottenham Hotspur have been doing some really good business over the transfer window, haven't they?
Yeah, it seems like Conte is really building a team, and I would tip them as the dark horse in the title race.
All right, so let's quickly move over to Arsenal. Arsenal have bought Gabriel Jesus, and he scored 2 goals in the friendly that they played against Nuremberg. Do you think he will offer the goals that they need, that Alexander Lacazette failed to deliver?
I think he might offer, because given that he's still young and he's experienced.
So Arsenal will be looking forward to some of those goals. Manchester United so far have only sealed Tyrell Malacia, and apparently he did very well at practice. So did the likes of Radamel Falcao. So did the likes of Angel Di Maria. They all looked good when they were in practice. But in any case, they are looking to seal the deal of Christian Eriksen. Will that be an important addition?
I'm thinking, you really need Eriksen, or they're just buying for the sake of it? Because if you look at over the years, you have been buying players for the sake of it. Some of the players are not fitting into their puzzle. Because as much as Eriksen is a quality player, you add quality to the team. But do they really need him right now?
Well, I think they do. As a Man United supporter, I'll defend. Look, I think they do need him in the sense that Bruno Fernandes' inconsistency, particularly last season, was very concerning. And when he was off, the whole team was literally off. So they do need somebody else that can come in who knows the league, who knows how to play in the Premier League, and that can provide those assists and that go-forward ball, as we would say in rugby. But that will provide that go-forward ball for the frontline attackers. I feel Rashford suffered from a lack of service last season in as much as he was poor. I think Anthony Martial could do better if he's kept this season with some decent service, and he understands the Premier League more than he understands La Liga, where he really couldn't play at his potential.
Yeah, we'll see when the season kicks off, but my view as a neutral, I don't think he's a necessary buy.
Says a Liverpool supporter, a neutral. And let's see whether Darwin Núñez will work. Do you think he will work in that position?
I'm a bit skeptical about that move. I think we bought him out of thinking we can replace Mane, but he might not suit the type of play in the Premiership, but we'll give him time. He has not kicked a ball yet. We'll see how it goes, but I'm a bit skeptical on that move.
And look, having lost Sadio Mane, I know I had a Liverpool supporter the other time. I mean, having lost Sadio Mane, who was key in terms of scoring big goals, as well as just to the well-oiled nature of that front three of Liverpool. How difficult do you think it's going to be transitioning? I know you got Luis Diaz, you've got Diogo Jota, Roberto Firmino is still there, Darwin Núñez, as well as Mohamed Salah.
I don't think the transition will be that hard. Of course, they're gonna miss Sadio Mane's goal, and they might lose some games or drop some points due to the lack of Sadio Mane. But it's a necessary transition which is needed because the front three was aging. So given that they're slowly replacing the front three bit by bit, and I don't see Roberto Firmino also staying long at Liverpool. The only person who's gonna stay long is Salah, who just signed a new deal. He's got 3-year extension. So I think it's now Liverpool rebuilding. We could say Liverpool 2.0 under Klopp.
Yeah, Liverpool 2.0, but let's see whether they'll deliver the goods. For all my thinking, I don't think they'll be able to win the league title next season. I think Manchester City will still be clear favorites. The amount of depth that they now have, 2 to 3 players in each and every position across the board, I think gives Manchester City more than enough arsenal to challenge for the title next season. For the Champions League, different story. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. It leaves me to thank Brian Matamba, our resident analyst. It's good to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Rainbow.
Oh, yes. I know you are still wallowing over losing Sadio Mane, but it's okay. It's okay. Let's see what Darwin Núñez will bring to the table. My name is Ruimbo Chakreka. I'm your host. Next week, we should be coming through with some interesting tales from the ICC T20 World Cup Global Qualifier B tournament being held in Bulawayo. Remember, support the chevrons. You can also get a supporters jersey from the Zimbabwe Cricket Supporters Union. They're selling some supporters jerseys, so make sure you get that one. Go chevrons, go. But up until next week, cheerio.